Welcome to Sage Garden Eco Villas. In this video, I'm going to show how easy it is to harvest and process grain on a small scale, which is something that I never thought I'd be doing. I'll explain why in a bit. You'll get to see the whole process in action, see what tools are needed, which are very simple. Since I'm using personal pronouns, I should probably introduce myself. My name's Jason, and I live here at Sage Garden. I'm going to demonstrate 3 steps: harvesting, threshing, and winnowing. For each of these 3 steps, I'll show my favorite method, and I'll also mention some alternatives. Harvesting. Since you're watching this video, I'm going to guess you're interested in gardening, so you already know all about harvesting. Threshing is breaking the kernels away from the stalks and husks. After threshing, you still have a mixture of grains and chaff, which is everything else, but at least the grains are no longer attached to the chaff. After threshing, winnowing separates the grains from the chaff, and that usually involves blowing the chaff away somehow. Alright, personal confession. I've never planted wheat or any other grains on purpose because I've always thought that it would be impractical to process a small amount for personal consumption. But now that I've accidentally grown some grain and processed it, I've changed my mind. It's a lot easier than I ever thought it would be. You might be thinking, what do you mean accidentally grew some grain? In this walking labyrinth, we scattered birdseed as a mixed cover crop to jumpstart the subsurface food web and to attract birds. Little did I know at the time that this mix of birdseed contained some kind of grain, which I think is hard wheat. Alright, so let's get into harvesting. You're going to laugh when you see how simple this is. Now you can use harvesting tools like pruning shears, secateurs. You can use things that are actually designed for harvesting grains on a large scale like a sickle. But honestly, I found the easy way was just to use my 2 hands. Now the grass can be sharp. It can cut your hands a little bit, so you could do this with gloves if you wanted to. But look how simple it is. It just doesn't get any easier than that. So we've harvested a batch of grain. You can see all the heads in here. So the next steps will be threshing and then winnowing. So again, in threshing, we will separate the seeds, which is the part we want to eat, from the husks. But they'll still be mixed together. It's just the seeds will now be outside of the husks. And then winnowing will separate the chaff, or the husks, from the seeds, so that all you've got left then is the seeds, and the husks, will just blow away. So there's several ways you can thresh on a small scale. On a large scale, of course, you have large threshing machines. On a small scale, you can use smaller threshing machines. And if you look up on YouTube, look up threshing wheat or threshing grains, you'll find all kinds of ingenious contraptions. A little more low-tech approach would be to use a flail. And you can put your heads in a bag like this, or a pillowcase or something like that. Put it on the ground and then beat it with the flail. Or you can just, use the flail on an open surface and just beat the heads with that flail that way. If you've got a small scale, a really small scale like we're talking about, you can go with an even lower tech approach. If you have a sidewalk and some boots, that's about as low tech as you get. I wouldn't want to do this on a large scale, but for our little tiny plot, it's a rough and ready method. Doesn't take much preparation. Aren't many things that can really go wrong. You just have to reset a few times. See how it's going. So we still got full heads. Let's do a little more. So that's ready for winnowing. So there are a few methods you can use for winnowing on a small scale. You can use a container like this, nice and wide, somewhat shallow. Put the mixture of seeds and chaff together in the bowl. Throw them up in the air, let the wind take the chaff, and the seeds fall back into the container. If you don't have wind, or if you want to do an even lazier method, you can use a fan. So I'm just going to pour the mixture in. See what we got. Whew. All right, now I didn't really do that expertly, so I still have some chaff mixed in. No problem. Let's do it again. I'm going to try that one more time, and then I'll give you a look at what we've got so far. Now, see how this is shaping up. I don't know how that's coming out in the camera. Well, it's pretty close to clean now. There's just a little bit of chaff in there still. Let me give you a closer look at this. Hang on a sec. So at this point it's pretty clean. Just getting those last few stubborn bits of chaff. You'll see some bits of stalk that still have the kernels attached. The little bits of chaff. When they're fully detached from the seeds, the wind just blows them away pretty easily. And if you're not trying to hold it in a special way so that the camera can see it, this goes much faster. But that's really all there is to it. And then what you're left with is nice clean grain clean in the sense it doesn't have any chaff in it. And it's ready to use. In summary, we saw harvesting by hand, literally just using my 2 hands. We saw threshing using a bag and stomping. And we saw winnowing using a fan and 2 buckets. What equipment did we have to use? Well, 2 buckets, a feed bag or something like it, a fan, and a shallow bowl. That's all there was to it. If growing your own grains is something you're interested in, I hope that after watching this video you feel like this is something you can absolutely do yourself. In fact, you'll probably come up with improvements over the techniques that I've shown in this video. So good luck to you. Take care.